Biden administration can impose vaccine requirements for large companies.
Definitely a winter chill in the air on this Friday, but by the time we closed out Saturday and Sunday, we got a little warmth for the weekend. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, one of the last surviving stars from Hollywood's golden age dies at the age of 94.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The Supreme Court hears arguments on 2 challenges to the Biden administration's vaccine and testing mandates. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, the Supreme Court is expected to rule quickly on challenges that go right to the heart of President Biden's pandemic response. The justices heard arguments this morning from opponents to the administration's vaccine or test mandates who say the White House exceeded its authority. The rules issued by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration require businesses with 100 or more employees to be vaccinated or get tested weekly. The other rule from Health and Human Services requires healthcare workers at facilities that receive Medicare or Medicaid to be fully vaccinated. The vaccine or test mandates are set to take effect February 9th. A death investigation is underway in Miami, Oklahoma, after firefighters discover the body of a man inside a burning home. It happened last night on G Street Southwest when the department was called to a house fire. Firefighters found a man inside one of the rooms. The house did not have power, and it appears the home was being warmed with a portable heater. State Fire Marshal is investigating the cause of the fire, and detectives from the Miami PD are looking into the cause of death. Authorities say at this point, there does not appear to be any sign of foul play. Police in Independence, Kansas investigate after 2 suspects fire 8 gunshots late Tuesday night. No one was hurt. Authorities say the 2 men are in custody at the Montgomery County Jail. Formal charges have not been filed. Well, Joplin drivers may need to make changes to their Monday morning commute. Starting next week, West 32nd Street from Schifferdecker to the entrance of Westbury Square will be closed. Detour routes will be posted, and property owners will be allowed access at all times. The closure is expected to last until April. It's one of many closures that will happen consecutively on different sections of 32nd Street as the city continues its widening project. The entire project should be wrapped up in the summer of 2023. Well, this definitely was not the week for outdoor construction.
Oh.
Michael Aislip joins us with a first look.
And Tanya, that snow that we see on the ground outside of Television City, even though we've got plenty of sunshine and blue sky today, not going to go anywhere. Because look at what we've got wind chill wise still at the noon hour. We barely have any 20s up there. Majority of them range from about 14 to 19 degrees. Now, a positive aspect of it all, at least we don't have to fight any precipitation. As a matter of fact, the light cloud cover that we do see for the central and eastern portion, sun's able to penetrate that. Does get a little thicker there as you move off to the west, but it's a nice dry air mass that we have hanging over us. Now, earlier, Tanya and I were talking about warmer temperatures as we head into the weekend. Well, that is going to be the case. As a matter of fact, snow will probably be a thing of the past by the time we get into Saturday afternoon. But Tanya, here's why it'll be a thing of the past. Well, sure, the above freezing temps help, but you know what else will wash away some of that snow?
Rain.
Light scattered rain.
Oh, man.
We'll break that down here in just a little bit because I do want to point out we have about a 2-hour time period where we're going to pop up some freezing drizzle. That's right, freezing drizzle for those of you that are going to be out early tomorrow morning. We'll go through our timeline here when I see you in a bit.
All right, we'll look into that. Thanks, Michael. A winter storm moves up the East Coast, affecting more than 50 million people. It's already dumped heavy snow on Kentucky and Tennessee, causing hundreds of car crashes. The storm system dumped another 2 to 5 inches on the D.C. area on top of the snow that fell earlier this week. The snow reached New York City overnight, coating roads and highways. The storm is expected to cause big problems for New England later today. Legendary actor Sidney Poitier is one of the last surviving stars from Hollywood's golden age and has died at the age of 94. Michael George looks back on his career of breaking through racial barriers on the silver screen.
Sidney Poitier was an award-winning actor, but also played the role of a Hollywood trailblazer. He was the first prominent black movie star, and he didn't shy away from roles that took on the issue of race.
Come on. Why you black? Go ahead and say it.
Poitier was raised in the Bahamas on his father's tomato farm. He quit school as a teenager and eventually landed in New York, where he found work as a dishwasher. His first acting audition was at the American Negro Theater, but the producers laughed at his accent. Undeterred, Poitier worked on his speech for months and eventually made it to the stage.
All right, let's get them in there.
In 1950, he got his big break in Hollywood and soon rose to stardom as a dramatic leading man.
But you think of yourself as a colored man. I think of myself as a man.
In 1964, he became the first African American to win a Best Actor Oscar for Lilies of the Field. That was followed by a string of hits, including his role as the fiancé of a white socialite in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Mom, this is John. He thinks you're gonna faint because he's a Negro.
I'll take that.
And his legendary role as Detective Virgil Tibbs in the Heat of the Night. In the 70s, Poitier started working behind the camera, splitting his time between directing and acting for the next 3 decades. In 2002, he was given an honorary Oscar for his life's work. That same night, African Americans won for both Best Actress and Best Actor.
I came here at a time when this Hollywood that you know was not the Hollywood here when I arrived.
And in 2009, the actor who helped bridge America's racial divide received the Medal of Freedom from America's first black president. Michael George, CBS News.
That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, we've all heard of self-driving cars, but what about a fish-operated vehicle? It's happening, and why scientists say you can train a goldfish to drive. And later, we're making chocolate pecan cobbler in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Forget everything you thought you knew about goldfish. Scientists say our fishy friends are capable of a lot more than we realized, even when it comes to getting behind the wheel. CBS's Ian Lee explains why.
It might sound like a fish tale, but scientists in Israel are sending goldfish where none have gone before.
Fish don't drive cars, so we had to train them.
You heard him right, training goldfish to drive a car. Well, technically a tank. This fish out of water got an intensive training course before being thrown into the deep end.
The fish understands that it needs to find the target and drive that vehicle towards that target. Every time it gets to the target, we award it with a food pellet.
Sensors on this, let's call it a reverse submarine, help the fish stay on course. If this all seems a little fishy, you're not alone.
This summer, The Fish and the Furious.
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert lampooned the research, but scientists say this is a serious study, proving fish can navigate on land just as well as in water.
Fish, even though they are embedded in a terrestrial environment, can make excellent navigational decisions.
Most goldfish pass the driving test in a few days, showing they may be more sophisticated than we thought. Ian Lee, CBS News.
It's widely believed that goldfish have a 3-second memory, but scientists say they can actually remember things for many months. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
Can you name a cobbler that's always in season? I'll give you a hint. It's made from a bean, a cocoa bean.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Well, we can't call Mother Nature forgetful as we wrap up our first full week of the new year and do so with number 1, snow still on the ground, and number 2, freezing temperatures for really the rest of today into tonight through tomorrow morning. Let's start with a live look outside of Television City. Does make for a pretty sight with the blue sky and the sunshine. It's still just a light dusting outside the mothership. I know that if you work up to the northwest and the northeast portion of our highlighted counties, certainly more still remains on the ground because we haven't had a chance for hardly any type of melt. 30 is as good as we're seeing right now in Miami and Grove. Compare that to the 25 that hangs in Joplin and Carthage. And let's drop all the way down to 21 in that string that runs from Iola across the state line east into Stockton. Now our daily almanac for this January 7th, we'd normally top out about 44. Well, we're going to have to wait till tomorrow afternoon to quite get there. And when we factor in the wind, at least it's shifting, and this is much better than what we saw this morning. But when we do factor in the wind, we still have wind chills as low as 14 up to the north. Throw 13 right now in at Yates Center. For those of you that were not able to join us this morning, we actually dropped as low as 2. So while this is still bitterly cold, we're kind of emerging from that dangerous standpoint. Now, we got all consumed with snow yesterday, and rightfully so. And while we talk about our temperatures today, it's hard to fathom that we're actually 7 degrees warmer today than what we were at this point in time yesterday. And then if you look up here to where our system rolled in from, look at the difference in Billings and in Denver. Almost a 40-degree warm-up for them. We're certainly not going to see anything that extreme, but it does give you an idea about how the warmth is on the way as the cold front now is pushed down. Really ranges from South Texas along the Gulf up to the mid-Atlantic, and we're able to avoid any watches or warnings. In fact, the majority of the warnings and watches throughout the entire Midwest that were associated with yesterday's snow, now a thing of the past. Got some cloud cover moving in from the west, but we'll show the old sea level pressure here in a little bit, and you'll see why it remains so dry and no travel concerns if you have to be on the road. Tell you what, travel concerns, that is of a very, very worrisome problem for people out in the Northeast. That is the same system that made that U-shape. Started off in Washington State, bowed through the 4 states, took off through Kentucky, the entire Commonwealth, now under a state of emergency, and it has made its way all the way to Maine. So you've got more than 2,000 flights that have already been canceled or delayed in the U.S. And that's what they call the good old-fashioned bomb cyclone, our first one of 2022 we've been able to talk about. Now at least it's pressing off the Atlantic coast. Look at all those H's there on the left-hand side, an idea of the high pressure that ranges through the Midwest. And that is why, even though we get a little cloud cover that moves in from central Kansas, don't have to worry about any precipitation with it. Afternoon planner, let's go mid-30s, so not enough to give us really much of a melt. Now, eventually, this is going to play a key factor for us as we work into the weekend. Watch the wind arrows here and look at the bottom there. South gusts increasing to 20 miles per hour. So as we push through Saturday, it is going to be a little bit blustery, and the fact that it comes in from the south, well, that's going to grab a whole lot of Gulf moisture. Now, we're going to have majority of rain on Saturday. Majority, not all. This is what I want everybody to focus on. If you need to be out and about early Saturday morning, watch a little bit of the pink begin to pop up with the cloud cover. That is the freezing drizzle, a little freezing rain thrown in there. It's really going to be the majority of the northern counties and also the eastern part of southwest Missouri. This got a chance for that freezing rain till about 8, 9 o'clock. I think the best chance for it to start would be about 5 a.m. and last until about 8 or 9. So be apprised of that situation. Then after that, we get a little bit of a wet Saturday. We don't see anything severe. We really don't see a whole lot of hard rain. But it just kind of scatters, and you'll notice it just hangs on as well. The hardest rain pushes all the way to the right-hand portion of our screen. You got to get into south central Missouri. But finally, we get a chance to clear off there on Sunday. Give you a national perspective when we talk about the Gulf moisture, and you can watch it move up here with those wind arrows that we were talking about. But certainly all the snow will stay out to the west and up to the far north of us. Then we can talk about Tanya's favorite word, warm up, because we'll throw up the 40s over the weekend. So that's right on par when we showed the daily almanac. But there we go, Tanya, a little bit above average as we push from Monday through Thursday with temperatures either high 40s or low 50s.
Yeah, well, I was excited about the weekend until you told me the freezing temperature Saturday morning. Maybe I'll just sleep in and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
I'm merely trying to give people an excuse to get a couple hours of extra sleep if you don't have to be out Saturday morning.
Definitely not.
Wrap up in the blankets. It's still going to be cold. It's going to be wet. And we'll get everything done later on in the morning.
That sounds good. No outdoor work on Saturday morning.
There you go.
For sure. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Staff Sergeant Philip Butler in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Iola, Kansas, joined the 1st Army 9th Division in 1944. He fought in England, France, and Germany, earning a number of honors, among them 2 Bronze Stars, the Prisoner of War Medal, and the Middle Eastern Campaign Medal. To Staff Sergeant Philip Butler, we thank you, our 4-state hero. Looking for a decadent treat? How about serving a slice of piping hot chocolate pecan cobbler with a scoop of ice cream? That's what we're making today in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Over the years here in the Test Kitchen, we've made more than our fair share of cobblers. In the summer, we've made them with fresh peaches and berries, while in the fall, apples were our fruit of choice. But now that it's winter, what do you say we change things up a bit by making a rich chocolatey cobbler that's always in season? We start by melting some butter in a shallow casserole dish or a deep dish pie plate. While that's doing its thing, we combine some sugar, all-purpose flour, a bit of salt, a little baking powder, and a couple of tablespoons of cocoa powder. After that's mixed, we add some milk and vanilla. And after a quick stir, we spoon it over our melted butter. And to give this its irresistible cobbler topping, we sprinkle it with a simple toffee pecan crumb. Now for the magical part, we pour some boiling water over it and into the oven it goes. In a little over a half an hour, the top transforms into a decadent chocolate pecan crust, while underneath, we end up with a layer of molten fudge. You can bet the whole house is going to smell like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Maybe team it up with some vanilla ice cream for a combo that'll satisfy any sweet tooth. The recipe for our chocolate pecan cobbler is on our website now. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a decadently chocolate way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
Staying pretty cold on this Friday as we'll barely eke above the freezing mark. And friendly reminder, tomorrow morning we get a chance to pick up a little freezing drizzle. Now that'll be pretty early on. Eventually it'll flip on over to rain. A little bit of a wet weekend ahead. We'll finally clear off late Sunday morning and then get ready for a warm-up next week as we'll throw up high 40s and even 50s by the time we conclude our second full week of 2022.
I can't wait till next week already.
Sounds pretty good.
All right. What do we have coming up tonight at 5, Dallas?
Well, at 5, as if the pandemic weren't already enough, health officials are now concerned about a possible twin-demic, surging cases of both the flu and COVID. For some patients, both infections are happening at the same time. We take a look at the earliest cases of what some are calling Flu-Rona in Health Watch. Plus, Southeast Kansas lawmakers meet with residents and city officials to discuss their priorities for the upcoming 2022 legislative session. And a Carthage woman spends years building a home for her prized possessions. Now it's up for sale. We're going to take a look at the history of Carthage's Carter Mansions, plural mansions. Join us. Those stories, a lot more. KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dal. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.